Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Yep. Now, we were talking the other day, and you asked me, what is awakening or enlightenment? Now, before I was awakened, I absolutely had no idea what it was. I never heard of it. I had no knowledge of it. And when I was awakened, I had to go and study and learn about it. I wanted to find out what happened. Initially I thought I had the stroke.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, I'm losing it. Something is wrong with me because there was no thought. But the more I look into it, the more confused I got.
Okay.
Because there was no explanation exactly what happened to me. Before the awakening part, I was always interested in finding myself, to find out who I am. That's a question that every person has, and everybody asks, who are we? But what religion told us that let us think that the river is God and is the source, that God creates humans from his own image and blew the spirit in the physical body, and we became the physical body as this water demonstrate. We just got the water from the river. Before we got the water from the river, it was a part of river. It had no idea that it would be placed in a cup, which is this garment, this physical body. Now, what the religion is saying, in order for us to return to God, this physical body has to die.
Okay.
It means something has to happen. Now, therefore, we pour the water back in there. When it is when water is in the cup, it doesn't remember absolutely nothing of what God is.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't understand it. You say it, you ask it what it is, it says, I'm the physical body.
Right.
It's just me.
Yeah.
And you come and say, no, you are God
Right. Yeah.
dressed in you.
Yeah.
And you would say, oh, that is crazy idea. That's impossible. Because religion tells you that you were, God create you, and you have God's spirit, which the spirit is separate from God.
Yeah.
Because the gods created the spirit as well. But the more I thought about it, the less I was convinced of this explanation, because it didn't make sense. Now, I am a spirit in this physical being, and I would die.
Yeah.
And I am poured, or my soul goes out of my body, and where does it go? Does it return to God?
I guess it returns to whatever the flow is that it came from.
That's correct.
Yeah.
If it does it even remember that was ever in this cup?
No.
Because the instant that it touches the source
Yeah.
is no longer
No longer.
the spirit in the cup.
It's no longer the illusion of the separation from it.
That's correct. It becomes instantly,
Yeah. That's right.
it's a part of the thing.
Yeah.
Now, then when I thought, when I was awakened, I do not like to call it awakening, the knowing.
Yeah.
When I came to the knowing, I recognized that something within me has changed drastically.
Yeah.
My mind, the thought flow has stopped,
Yeah.
and the way I look at life has changed. My understanding of life has changed, and the further I got further from my ego, the closer I got to the answer, which I will about to tell you what it is. Yeah. You have a question?
Yeah. So just to go through that again. So the further you got from the ego, the closer you got to source.
To the source, yes.
The closer you got to the answer.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what was the answer? Well, again, I looked at it the way the religion explained. I am separate from the source.
Yeah.
The source has created a spirit, and through that the spirit, this physical body, and I'm alive. When this physical body dies,
Yeah.
then the source goes to heaven or hell based on the deeds that we have
Okay.
done. But when I am looking at it, I see that may not be the truth. Now, the awakening part, what is it? Now, I am this cup. For about 60 years, I have my physical body is imprisoning a soul within me,
Right. Okay.
which this soul, which it used to be the source,
Right. Yeah.
has forgotten where it was originated from. It doesn't remember because all it sees itself is in this cup.
Okay.
Now, if we tell the cup, if we tell the soul within this physical body that you are the source, it will look at its own limitation and will tell you, no, I am not.
Yeah.
Because it's looking at this.
Yeah.
Okay, I am within this container.
Separate from.
I'm separate and I don't remember.
Right. Yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter what you do, it will never remember. But now, what I am saying is, we got this water from the river.
Yeah.
Did the chemistry of the water changed?
No.
Because it is in this container.
It's all the same.
It's the same. Now, if is the same as what it is there, therefore we can come to conclusion that it must be the same.
Yeah.
If the chemistry is the same, it must be from the same water.
Yeah.
But you and I, looking at this from the far, anybody sees it from far distance, they say, no, this water is absolutely separate from this.
Uh-huh.
Now, when you are awakened, when you come to understanding that this water is exactly the same as the water in the river,
Okay.
you get closer and closer to the river itself, because you're no longer attached to this physical body. The physical body exists, but you're not attached. The ego disappears, the thought disappears.
Yeah, you're no longer focused on its limitations because you start to realize that the limitations are something that we created around us.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then because thought is not there, is not active,
Yeah.
then you have the freedom of seeing before thoughts activity. You see, you start seeing it from where the source is.
Right.
No thoughts.
Because when we go from the transition of being constantly in thought, constantly preoccupied, and then we fall away from that, and then we find, like I find often, that there's no thought at all, and then there's that quiet, there's that peace, and then so what you're saying is that as you fall away from, as the thought falls away, and then you have that silence, then you start to reconnect with everything that was there all along.
That's correct.
That we weren't aware of, because the thoughts are it's almost as if the thoughts seal the jar.
That's correct.
Yeah.
This is the thoughts.
Yeah.
This container is exactly what you said. This is a thought. Now, when you are awakened or you're knowing, what happened?
When you're awake and you're knowing.
When you are awakened or knowing,
Okay.
what happens to you?
Then the limitations are removed.
The limitation are removed, and you know that you are the source, but you're still in this physical body.
Right. So what you actually realize then is that we're way more powerful than what we gave ourselves credit for, because we've got all the powers there, which is what a lot of the religions teach, but they don't teach it that way. They don't. They actually teach people that they're powerless, when in fact that we're very powerful.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But you get to know that when there is no thoughts,
Yeah.
when there is not much thought activity.
Right, which is what we talked about yesterday, was that when we have fear, we have thoughts about what might be, and then we create even more limitations. So then we restrict even further what we're doing. And so once we can free ourselves from the thoughts, then we free ourselves from the limitations that we create with our thoughts.
That's correct.
And then we not only gain a power, but we gain a complete freedom from what we had trapped
That's
ourselves
correct.
in.
Now,
Yeah.
what happened when you are knowing? This happens. You're still in this physical body,
Yeah.
but you become one with the source.
Yeah. So the awareness is you were always connected, but it's the awareness of never having not been connected.
That's correct. Then it's instantly when I am still the physical body
Yeah.
and the soul, I still have the physical body.
Yeah.
Then I know within the physical body that I am not separated from the source, and I am the source,
Yeah.
but with the physical body.
Yeah.
And that is the knowing.
So
There is no separation anymore.
So really what it comes down to is that when we can let the thoughts go, when we don't hold on to the thoughts, then as they disappear, then the knowing returns that we never were separated from.
That's
source.
correct, yes.
Yeah.
Now, as long as you have the thought activity, you're too busy being the physical body.
Right. Yeah.
But once you remove that, then you close your eyes and you go back to your original place, which is the now, the present time. You're here now.
Yeah.
And this is where the whole source is. The here doesn't belong to the past or in the future. All you notice yourself to be present.
Right.
And that is where the source is. This is the knowing. I'm still in the physical body,
Yeah.
but I am part of the whole movement
Yeah.
of the energy
Yeah.
or the source.
So before we're born, there's just
That
we're
is,
part of the flow,
that's correct.
and then we're born, and so then the cup is there,
The cup is,
and then we come into the physical world, and now we start to experience this,
and you forget.
and then so when do we start to forget?
It's the time that the time that we are taught by others that they have already forgotten, with our parents, the society, and everybody else.
So does that
They teach us.
does that happen before we're born? Because we're experiencing what's going on around.
When we are born,
Yeah.
even the first few years of our life,
Yeah.
we are not separate. We are just one. We know the knowing.
Right.
We know that we are connected.
Yeah.
But what happens when our mind is being brainwashed by those that absolutely are lost, and they think that they are separate from the source, then we lose and we forget.
Yeah.
But if you ask somebody else is 1 year old or 2 days, they cannot even say, they don't even know the name. When they want to say that if the person's name is John, they say Johnny did it. Doesn't even refer to himself that I did it. They don't even know the meaning of this I. They say Johnny did it. They always refer to the third person, not themselves. Johnny is separate from them because that is speaking the knowing. Because Johnny is not them. But Johnny becomes Johnny when it's being repeated that you are Johnny. And then after that, that knowing becomes thoughts, and that separation starts from them.
So that happens relatively early on. Like
It's the first few years of our life, yes.
And first few months, like
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting when you watch young children how they progress, and then by the time that they get to be trained, 4, 5, 6 years old, then they're in that whole concept of separateness, and
That is the easiest way to explain what the knowing is.
yeah.
I'm not sure if it makes sense or not,
Well,
but
it does. I'm just thinking through so when I've gone through that experience where you notice that the thoughts just fade away, and you don't spend a lot of time thinking. It's not that for a lot of people it sounds funny that we're not thinking, but there's a different kind of clarity that comes.
that's correct.
We live in the illusion that we have to think in order to survive, but that's not what happens. Is a combination of the subconscious thought. So the same reason that I wouldn't step off the curb in front of a car, I don't have to think about that, because that's already whatever I need in thoughts to survive. The reason that we're able to stand here today is that we survived yesterday, and that comes from we've gone through a series of experiences, but then we've got all those thoughts in our subconscious thought, and so what we've also got in that combination of subconscious thought is we've got all our limitations, and the limitations include the idea that we're separate from everything, and now in order to get away from those limitations, we have to start getting away from thought.
That's correct.
Because the thoughts, on the one hand, they provide a valuable service because they keep us alive, but on the other hand, they keep us entrapped. And then so in the awakening, what happens is as we stop adding more thoughts to what we know, and we start to sift out the thoughts that we have that are already hidden. So we're playing a game of hide and seek with our subconscious. For example, if I say I want to have a new experience, I don't like the experience I have right now, I want to have a better relationship, or I want to have more money or something like that. So now, why am I having the experience that I'm having right now? Is because I'm reliant on the subconscious thoughts that have brought me to this place. It's what's keeping me in that cup. It's what's keeping me contained there. So now I don't need more thoughts to add to that to change my experience. I need to discard what I already know, understand that what I already know is what's causing me to do what I'm doing, and when in the awakening, it's the understanding that we have to put the machinery in reverse.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is, now, humanity, they spend most of their time in destructive thought than constructive thought. These constructive thoughts are thoughts that we create things, we build things.
Can you give me an example of that?
Or the destructive thoughts are the thought that we built a car, we built a house, we have a clothing.
Okay.
All the thought that are creative are building certain things that is beneficial to humanity.
How is that? Are you saying constructive?
Constructive. Constructive,
Okay.
yeah. Constructive
I
thought.
misunderstood. I thought
Destructive
Right.
thoughts
Yeah.
are the one that is related to your past, which absolutely has no bearing to your present time. Like what I did yesterday, what I ate yesterday, what did my wife tells me, what she told me, and all those things.
Okay, so how is that destructive?
Destructive thought are the thought that you are the traffic, the busy,
Help me to understand why are they destructive?
because it contains 90% of your thoughts. It doesn't have any useful.
Right. So what it's doing is we have a battery and it's using up energy.
That's correct.
That is with no purpose.
That's correct.
It's kind of like leaving the lights on when there's nobody home.
That's right. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Like it is just like say that no one is home as the TV is on and it just talks and talks and it talks. But where does it talk and doesn't say? It means that it's repeating the program that you recorded 10 years ago,
Right.
and hearing a news which is what 10 years ago, which is not relative to the news that is happening today.
Yeah.
And that is the destructive thought.
Yeah.
Constructive thought that is related to this moment, to something that we are benefiting at this moment, or your house, because it was built 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but you are using it now.
Yeah.
Your car is the same thing.
Right.
And this camera that is filming is the same thing.
Right.
These are constructive thoughts,
So it's
creative.
It's the same as. So now we take in awakening. So we take away the thoughts, and a lot of the thoughts are about the past or future. It's not about. So once we're only in the awareness, in the awakening of what is, then we can then now we have the opportunity. So whatever it was, the new experience that we wanted to create, now we have an open access to that.
That's
we're
correct.
no longer cluttered with, we're not standing in line waiting for this because of all these thoughts that have to go by before we can get to it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is exactly say that when you are awakened, you are constantly present, and I am going there, getting the water. 100% of my attention is to get the water. Mm-hmm. My mind is not active with something else that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah. It is 100% here. Now, you and I, we have been speaking for 20 minutes. Not one thought I have had which belong to the past or future.
Right.
I am present here. I am here with you.
Right.
Means 100% of my attention is invested to listening to you.
Yeah.
Now, if I have destructive thoughts, what percentage of my attention is invested in you?
So, for example, if during the whole time that you were talking, I was watching the water going down there and I was observing different animals running around and I was thinking about something down the river, and then when it's all done, I go, Oh yeah. Sorry. What did you say?
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here, all I am is I just pay attention to you.
And then when we don't have that connection, when we don't have that presence, then what happens is that we lose our connection. So we're no longer the cup in the water.
That's right.
We're now very separate from it with the lid on it. Completely, it's blocking out anything from source coming to us.
That time you're 100% ego. You're no longer
That's right.
you.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, we're just going around in that circle, in that cup, in what we know, because there's nothing new can come to that, and we can't observe anything outside of that because of. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. That is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a really.
That is awakening
Yeah.
or knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Very
you.
nice.